And what am I? I am a alignment coach. I work with people suffering from chronic conditions to help them heal or reduce the symptoms. And I use the emotion code, body code, and belief code most often. This podcast, Healing Conversations for Anything Chronic, is here to bring the message of natural healing. That's really what we're here to do. And if you hear it, and if you know someone who needs to listen to these messages, then please, please do send this message to them. Enough about me and enough about that. Let's introduce our guest today, Nadav Atias. Nadav, so lovely to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. It's
Wonderful.
actually my first time being interviewed overseas.
Yay. So tell us something about you. Let's get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm a personal coach for the past 13 years, I think, or so. And it all started when I got a major blow on my head. Of course, it's not something that I wanted to naturally move into. I had to go through a major crisis in my life. And then I started with NLP.
Mm.
But for the past few years, I'm mostly engaged in Joe Dispenza's work. I translated his books to Hebrew. I run the local community. And also, I uh, rebroadcast the entire, I will try to do the entire podcast of Ram Dass, Here and Now. And I really love his material. Buddhism and mindfulness are uh, my main dish for
Yeah,
the past
yeah,
few years. Um, so it's all around self evolvement, development. I love that so much. In my previous life, I was a cybersecurity expert in a high tech company for
really.
20 something years. I have three kids, and I'm a single dad for the past year.
So that sounds really it's fun. I mean, my journey started with having been in IT and then moved over to coaching and all of that, and also NLP was very much at the beginning of my journey.
Mhm.
um, but tell me, so I mean, you said so many interesting things already that I'm really curious to find out about. So yeah, do you know what? I'm going to start with the Joe Dispenza one.
All right.
So what brought you there? I mean, it's probably quite a leap, really, but what
Yeah.
attracted you to the Joe Dispenza walk? And maybe share with us a little bit about who he is, if someone doesn't know.
Yeah. So, through my quest to find new material, new food for thought over the internet, I just bumped into his 20 something minutes TED talk that Joe Dispenza gave. And that really blew my mind. It was like listening to someone who's telling you that there is nothing spiritual, it's all very mechanical. And that's the first time I've heard such a statement, such a bold statement from my point of view. Although later on in his material, he definitely goes into the very esoteric realms. So after that one TED talk, I started consuming whatever I found, and it was so beautiful for me, and it helped me understand many things because I come from a very logical world, and for people coming from a logical world, it's not very easy to jump straight into the pool before we check even if there's water in the pool. Yeah. We
Yeah,
need to have very thorough, very deep explanations on what's happening, what's going on with our bodies during meditation process. What's that? The field, the one field. What is that really? Energies, vibrations, frequencies. It's something that before it was like a mumble jumble. Yeah. And when I met Dispenza, it was very clear and orderly and organized, and I love that. And at one point, I thought that it's a real pity that we don't have anything in Hebrew for the local audience. Now, we know Israel is such a cuckoo place that really requires a lot of self-development, of inner observation, of meditation, of course. And at that second, I decided that I am going to be the one translating his books to Hebrew. So I used his own medicine. I sat and practiced one of the meditations called Tuning into New Potentials. And in that meditation, I just imagined myself translating a book, one of his books. And that really helped me a lot to start things going. Yeah, to people sometimes think that you're very passive when you do your meditation. It's you're just sitting there and waiting for things to happen to you. But the real thing is that meditation causes your body, your mind to go into a flow in reality where you start executing things in a playful way. Yeah, without the stress, without the heaviness, without the worry. So that's what happened to me. And I called Hay House in London and I said, "Hello, I'm Nadav from Israel and I want to translate Joe Dispenza's books to Hebrew." And he laughed, of course. He said, "It doesn't work this way. You need to bring a local publisher and we need to negotiate." And for a fact, I know that without the meditations, I would have hung up the phone there and then and probably would have said to myself, "Oh, this will not work. There is no chance for this to work." But because of the meditation, I was playing with the universe, with the field, with whatever, with reality. And I knew that Hay House belongs to Lois Hay, and I looked for her books here in Israel. I found a local publisher publishing her books. I gave them a call. And following that call, I gave them a half-hour lecture on Joe Dispenza. They were tolerant enough to listen to me, which was very surprising. And they started the negotiation. They then purchased the rights for 3 books. And I kept going with my meditation because I'm officially or by profession, I'm not a translator. English is not my mother tongue. Yeah. And I had all the odds going against me, really, if you think about that. And the publisher also said that, well, we don't know why you're insisting. You're not qualified. And it was just a miracle that they sent me a PDF of the first book. They said, "Look, here's the first book. Translate a few pages. We'll examine the results you produce, and then we'll decide." And a few days later, they told me, "You're the translator. That's it. We're done." And once I was done with the first book, it happened to be served to their main editor in the publishing house. And she was so impressed with the results that she told the manager he's definitely going to translate the next 2 books. So I was so happy to hear that, and that's what happened. And it was a 5-year journey, and it was an amazing one. During that time, when I started translating the first book, I decided to open a local Facebook community for the Israelis to have as much information available in Hebrew to them. Now, for those who don't know Dr. Joe Dispenza, he is a chiropractor, and he rode his bicycle during a triathlon and he got ran over by a truck, a massive truck, and he broke or fractured 6 vertebrae in his back. And he decided that he's not going through surgery, which was insane for someone who really knows and understands the back and the vertebrae. And he decided that he was going to heal himself using meditation, and that's what he did in 12 weeks, if I remember correctly. 12 weeks following his injury, he was back on his feet, back working and exercising, and it was unbelievable. From that point in time, he decided to explore and investigate and search and do whatever he can to understand why this is even possible, and to learn as much as he can about that mechanism that's within us. Yeah. Innate mechanism we all have. And now he's passing it on through his retreats, books, movies, and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I also remember the first time I heard about Joe Dispenza, and I remember him saying, he said, well, I was lying in hospital, I couldn't go anywhere anyway. So I decided that I'm going to heal myself. And if I manage, he said that would be my wake up call. And I'm gonna become a neuroscientist and really learn as much as I can about the brain. And he basically said, long story short,
Yeah.
here I am.
Yeah.
And it is definitely fascinating. And I think if anyone listening has not heard about Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza, this is definitely your invitation to go and look him up,
And
because
explore, definitely. Yeah.
it's yeah, everyone needs to know about Dr. Joe Dispenza and his methods, and also the phenomenal results that he gets, which you're now, of course, going to share some of your experience about that. But tell me, one of the things that I think anyone that I meet and anyone that I talk about Dr. Joe Dispenza, the first thing they say is that his meditations are so challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you go from bump on the head, which we haven't touched on, to doing the meditations, then now opening the Facebook groups and helping
Yeah.
people to do exactly that?
Yeah. So I started with the mindfulness meditations, very silent or very serene, comfortable, quiet meditations. And then, as you mentioned, the challenge around Joe Dispenza's meditation, they're quite different from what I was practicing or I got used to. He's coming more from the commanding side of meditation, more from the uh, hypnosis. I think there's a lot of hypnotherapy elements embedded in his meditations. He wants us to get into a trance and follow his orders and follow his voice and follow the music. And for some people, it's really hard to have someone tell them what to do. Yeah. And that's the main obstacle for people that start listening to his meditations. They say, "Oh, it's impossible. He's shouting at me. He's commanding me.
I
He's."
have heard about the shouting.
So yeah, so I think what he does, or what he's trying to do, is to have us completely surrender, completely give up any personality that we have within us and follow blindly. Yeah, because we do know that these methods are used all over, usually in a negative way. So this guy is coming and saying, look, I use the same methods, but I use them in a positive way. So just relax, surrender, and follow. And I think once we manage to overcome that obstacle of the self, of me, I think this is a very fast method to get us into a trance. It's a very fast method for people that are not practicing Eastern philosophies, Eastern meditations, and do not sit in a monastery or in a cave. They just finish eating in McDonald's and they had their Big Mac and Coke, and then they can come over and practice relatively fast without going through very deep different phases as we do usually in Buddhism or mindfulness. This is why I think Dispenza is very different from the rest. So he's commanding. The music is usually very dramatic, and the results for normal people, not people that sit in a monastery, as I mentioned earlier, are quite excellent once they manage to give up their own self in the process.
But I think
Uh,
this is quite a big thing, isn't it? I mean, the self is quite an interfering thing. It's really hard to say, I
yeah,
surrender and I
yeah.
listen and I give in to.
Yeah. So, and this is why it's so important for him to serve us with the information first. He
Mhm,
wants us to be educated, to read, to understand, to go to his retreats or do an online course or whatever, in order for the thinking mind to be satisfied. It got enough food for it to be satisfied and not to be in the way, because everything is logical, everything is understood. We're left with no questions. We
mhm,
understand exactly what we're doing. We understand the phases. We understand what's happening in the body. We understand the energy, the brain. And once we're done understanding, now it's the time to start experiencing personally.
mhm,
So this is why it's really important for him, and with some of his meditations, he's actually handing out explanations to the meditation that he wants us to listen to carefully before we start practicing the meditation.
mhm,
So for some people it doesn't work. Yeah, some people are give me the experience. I don't want to listen to any explanation. It's too much for me. Give me the experience. But Dispenza works exactly the other way around, and I think that's excellent for people with a very logical mind, people that are skeptics, people that are they hear the word spirituality and they say, oh, that's bullshit. Yeah, for these people I think his method is excellent.
yeah. I was just talking to someone the other day and said that I remember the time that if you said you were Buddhist or that you were doing meditations, people would look at you like, cross the road. Don't
Yeah,
go there. It was such a funny kind of stigma, and now of course it's the exact opposite. I
yeah.
mean, at least that's my experience. So David, have you met Dr. Dispenza?
No, surprisingly not.
Not yet.
I tried to register to one of the retreat in Austria, and it was fully booked after 2 minutes. They opened at 8 o'clock, 8:02. It was fully booked, and
Yeah, that was
was
it.
unbelievable. Yeah, and I
And
cannot, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a single dad, so I cannot fly to the US or anything of that sort. I need to have something close. But
yeah,
I do believe that I will eventually go to a retreat, definitely.
yeah. But let's focus back on you, and tell me.
Hmm.
So in the work that I do, I mean, I work a lot with people with chronic conditions,
Hmm.
but I also work a lot with people who feel very stuck, and the ones that are maybe listening too much to the negative self-talk. So what is it in your experience? How do we use these methods? How do you use the, do you know what any of your methods? to help people heal or create the new reality for themselves.
Yeah. So I first we need to understand what's really driving those people. Yeah. And it's usually some hidden patterns that are running in the background and people are not aware of. So I think the most basic understanding is to accept that everything that happened to you in your life is so precise, so exact. There is no 1 millimeter of error in the process. Once you are willing to embrace that, then we can start looking at the things that happen to you in a completely different way. Yeah, for instance, some people that experience a relationship, yeah, as a couple. Um, in their logical mind, they are fighting all the time. They are not meant to be together. It's a disastrous mistake, and they come with these type of words and this type of energy. But
Mm,
once they accept that there is no room for error and everything is precisely as it should be, then we can start looking. We flip our view and start looking inside, and we start accepting that the other side is a teacher of some sort,
mm,
a person that comes with a torch, a flashlight, and shines that torch on certain spots within your body, within your hidden self, yeah, within the patterns you're holding there.
mhm,
And that torch is shining a light exactly at those places you're not aware of, and you should start looking at. From that point of view, you understand that the relationship is exactly how it should be for
mm,
you to start developing, for you to start evolving, and also for the other side. But you cannot be responsible for the other side. Yeah.
mhm,
Um, and the outcome, the result of that would be you either stay together and evolve together, or you break apart and evolve separately. From a higher perspective, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it
mhm,
doesn't really matter. To me or to the person, what matters is they do not stay stuck in the same place without going anywhere. And then when they're 80 or 90, they look back and say, oh my God, what have I done? Yeah. So we start usually flipping the view or looking uh, inside of us. Usually, it's the automated pattern is to look outside of us. Yeah, the automated pattern would say, "Oh, if you only change A, B, C, D, everything will be perfect." But if that will happen, if the other side will change A, B, C, D, that means I've learned nothing.
mhm,
And that means that if I go onwards with my life and move into another relationship, there's a very good chance I'll bump into A, B, C, D again. Now, we need to take into consideration that every time we ask the other side to change, if the other side agrees to change, this will not last. The change caused by someone asking me and not by me really understanding that it's for my own good to make changes in my life, that does not last. And what usually happens is that the other side starts accumulating grudge, and he accumulates and accumulates until he explodes, or she, it doesn't matter.
mhm,
And as a rule of thumb, we cannot ever ask the other side to change. That's a major thing to agree to. We cannot ask the other side to change. We need to accept that either they stay as they are, or if they decide to change, it's their own decision on their own path in life and not something we need to force them to. Um,
So you change, if you want to change, you change yourself, and then the change will
yeah,
happen because the person will respond to a changed
yeah,
a changed way.
and that brings a lot of fear into the process, because if I change myself, then I'm going into the unknown, and I don't like the unknown. I like
Mhm.
everything to be known. Yeah, from my survival kit that I'm holding inside, I want
Mhm.
everything to be known, including all the dangers, including all the execution plans I have ready. And when I go into the unknown, a different me, and then something happens to the environment and people around me, they start to change as well, or if they cannot change, they move away for other people to come into my life. That could be very scary for me because I'm not really ready for the unknown. And that's a major, major issue with most people that are not willing to go through change. They are sucked back into the old self, into the old life, or they have people around them reminding them that they're not new, they're
Mhm.
old. Yeah, you're living in fantasy. You're not this and that person. You're the person we know for the past 20 years, and we demand you go back into that personality. Yeah. So we need to take care of that as well, and that work requires a daily practice. It's even if it's I don't know, it could be meditation, it could be other practices, it doesn't matter, but the practice has to be daily, because you have to remind yourself in very minor baby steps that you are changing on a daily basis. Otherwise, the forces of survival, the forces of the old self, the forces of those automated patterns are so strong, they'll pull you back if you don't practice daily. Now, it is said that um, any automated patterns we hold are executed 7 times faster than the patterns of thought of our frontal cortex, our modern mind, 7 times faster. So we have to really try hard in
Mhm.
order to compete with those automated patterns we hold within us.
But I think it's I mean, of course, relationship is one thing, and in my work, I guess I'm not I'm not looking so much about at relationships. I'm more
Yeah.
interested at the relationship.
Chronic pain, you
Yeah,
mentioned.
chronic pain, but also the relationship that people have with themselves, with their
Yeah,
fears, with, like you
yeah,
say, everything that is holding them back in,
yeah, yeah,
pulling them back to their old self, to how they used to be, and all of that.
yeah,
But I totally agree with what you say, that we tend to go external. Sometimes you listen to someone's conversation, and everything is they did, they said, they this, they that, and you're like, it's nothing to do with these other people. It
yeah,
really is about you. What are you learning about yourself? How I always ask, how come this thing is happening right now? And the answer can't be about these people. It's really about you. What are you not saying that this actually brought this incredible opportunity for you to, like you said earlier, to shine the light on all these things that are kind of hidden and
yeah.
unseen. Um,
Yeah,
and what,
one thing I usually tell people is that now look at that entire scene you brought into the session, but look at it now as if there is no one in the world but you. You're alone in the world, and everything that happened to you only. And this is like an echo, echoing from walls, from rocks that you reveal.
Mm.
And then there's no one to point a finger at. There's no one to blame. What do you do now?
There's another thing that is similar to that. That you say, okay, look at your partner, for example, and write down all of these complaints, everything that you believe that they do or don't do that annoys you, and all of that. And when you have this list, say you have 10 items, cross off, cross out their name and put your own, and then see
Yeah.
actually it's exactly the mirror, and
Yeah.
things echoing
Yeah,
back.
there's a very nice short clip by Joe Dispenza about someone looking for a romantic partner, and he says, write down everything you want to find in this romantic partner, and then when you're done writing, try to have everything accomplished within you, and only then you will find the right partner.
See, I guess some people gonna just decide to just be by themselves then.
Yeah.
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 And tell me, so we call the name that we gave the conversation is about emotions. So let's keep the
Yeah.
emotion in motion. What
Yeah.
what is that about?
Yeah. So usually we think of emotions as something not really understandable, or something mystic, something foggy, something strange, something not to be trusted. Yeah. In Judaism, we really celebrate the brain, yeah, the wits, and
Mhm,
we do not trust the emotions at all. Yeah. But if you think about that, emotions are eventually related to thoughts. Emotions are like thought mirror that's just happening in the body. Yeah, if I uh, encounter a situation, if I think of something that happened to me in the past, if I think of something I dread in the future, whatever runs through my mind actually activates uh, a chemical flow within my body.
mhm,
That chemical flow goes into my cells all over my body. And those cells have an output that is a feeling, something I'm feeling within my body. It can be different areas. When I'm scared, maybe my knees are frozen, and maybe when I'm angry, I have something in my throat or in my belly or in my chest. Those sensations or feelings are eventually gathered into something we call an emotion.
mhm,
Now, because we usually are not very well connected to our bodies, we are not really sure about the sensations.
mhm,
Someone would say, I feel anxious. And I would ask, how do you know that you're anxious? And they wouldn't be able to connect the sensations within their bodies to the word anxious. Now,
mhm,
this is something we need to learn. Now, emotions, as I said, are a mirror reflection of what we have going on within our brains, our thoughts, and they're eventually made of energy. That energy wants to be free to flow, to finish its round within our body and evaporate.
mhm,
But usually, what happens, we do not allow that emotion to flow naturally. And we usually keep those emotions, mostly the unpleasant ones, we keep them in a box. We say, oh, this is not the time to be angry. This is not the time to act in a strange way. This is when you're crying, you look weak. Don't cry. Don't do that in public, and so on and so forth. And we slowly teach our kids to not process their emotions, to keep them blocked, to keep them in a box within their bodies. And usually, that energy, when it is blocked, it starts fermenting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts fermenting, and at some point in life, that box will explode, and something very unpleasant will happen to us, either physically, illness or pain, or mentally, that we go into depression or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so those emotions, all they want is to be uh, free to make their tour inside the body and then evaporate. There's a, a very very nice story about two zebras eating grass, and then there's a lion coming towards those zebras. Now, they're both of them are going into stress. Yeah, there's adrenaline, there's cortisol. Now, the lion decides to run just after one zebra, and the other zebra is standing there. Now, she's all pumped up, and nothing happens. So, what the zebra usually does, it starts kicking the ground and letting all the excess energy out of the body into the ground. Now, if we could do that as humans, that would be amazing. But usually we keep our poker face.
Mm.
We sit there in the meeting room with our boss who's yelling at us, and there's nothing we can do because society teaches us that no, you have to be very constrained.
Mm.
Now, the thing to do with that is after the meeting is over and when you go back home, to start processing what happened that day and not leave it locked in that chest or box.
Mhm. I think we just lost you there for a minute. Um, just internet. Oh, sorry. There was just a
Ingredient.
disconnection with the internet. Are you
Yeah.
back?
Yeah. So emotions, I think, are the most important ingredient in life, even more important than thoughts, uh, in my mind,
Yeah.
because
They tell
when
you, right?
you have, for example, when you have an experience and that experience bears almost no emotion, there's nothing there.
Hmm.
It will take for you 3, 4, 10 days, and you completely forget about that experience. If that experience does have or bear an emotion, either good or bad, we don't usually tend to categorize them in good and bad because both of them are correct. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, that is something that you'll remember probably for some time. If that emotional charge is very high, that is something you'll definitely remember for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Well, now it goes into the brain, right? It's like a new, like a sealed
Yeah.
thing that is now constantly available to be brought back in any moment of,
Yeah.
kind of
This is
PTSD type
this is what
thing.
happens, yeah, to people with PTSD, and yeah. So we're aiming at having trauma on the positive side. This is something we believe is possible, to cause someone such a high state of emotion, an elevated emotion, that there will be an imprint of an experience equal to a traumatic experience that we easily do. Yeah, that goes without saying. Oh, on the survival side, yeah, I'm a master. I'm an expert. Now let's teach ourselves to be masters and experts on the elevated side as well, which is
Yeah,
quite
I
a
see.
challenge. Yeah.
That is a challenge, exactly. It's
Yeah.
I meet a lot of people that, because of the conditions, they really notice that they are very down and very negative, and like they're so fed up already. And every morning when they get up in the morning, they realize that the pain of the condition is still there, maybe even worse than it was yesterday. And so they're constantly in that very low energy, very low emotions, and all of that. And when I come with my wisdom and I say, "Oh, well, to heal, you have to raise your energies," they're like, "Really?" And that is quite. It is quite hard. So
Yeah.
so how do we do it? How do we how
And
do we help?
remember that they want to stay there. Usually we want to stay there. We want to stay inside the familiar self, and the familiar self is sad. If
Mm,
we go to happiness, we don't know what's going to happen. It's unknown, unseen. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, so that's quite a challenge. But the person has to first understand that the current situation just does not support his health.
But
Yeah,
how do we do it though? How do we say, right, let's get out of this comfort zone, and your self image and everything that you've ever said to yourself, basically, and
yeah,
move on to these elevated emotions.
yeah. So I usually take them through a trip on their own timeline, pointing out the different events in their lives that they were happy, in love, grateful. And when we go through those events in their lives, I educate them to start paying attention to what's happening in their bodies. That's
Hmm.
we start opening the channels of communication with the body. They need to realize that their happiness is not just something in the head. It's something that wraps the entire being. Yeah, it's an energy that goes through the entire body, and they need to start learning where their happiness resides, where their thankfulness resides, where
Hmm.
their love resides, and it's different for people. Yeah, different areas, different colors, different sensations. It's different. um, Once we start going through those events that show them that this is not strange to them, this is something that happened in their lives in the past, they usually tend to forget about them or not consider them important.
Hmm.
They do consider important all the bad things that happen to them. This is something that most of us do. Yeah. And After we go through that, we start inviting those sensations into our bodies. We start practicing with the sensations in our bodies so we can stay for a given amount of time in that emotion on demand. Yeah, we're sitting in a session room or we practice now, and
Hmm.
on demand we teach our bodies to start having those sensations. And once we do that good enough, we get better and better. Then we start engaging with the imagination as well, and we allow the people to just play. I think that's very helpful when I tell them, look, it's like you're in a kindergarten now, and you are in the playground playing in the sandbox in the kindergarten, and you can build any castle you like,
Hmm.
and no one can say anything. There are no adults around, there is no logic around, and there is no reality around. Just for a short while, go play. And when you play, bring those sensations along with you into the process.
Hmm.
And that allows them to have an experience that's almost like a dream, but a good one. Yeah. And when they practice that long enough, their bodies start to rewire towards the positivity,
Hmm.
to rewire towards that sand castle they just built.
Mm-hmm.
because the body doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined as long as the emotion is strong enough. Yeah, that's what happens to us when we dream. Yeah, we go to sleep, we dream, then there are very strong emotions occurring there. The body doesn't really understand that this is not a reality. The body thinks it is. Once the body understands that this is the reality, or this is where we're going to, this is our vision, where we're aiming at, it starts recalibrating itself chemically
Mm-hmm.
to support that route. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the essence we are looking for towards our evolvement.
Is it important to know, like you said, when you ask someone, they say that they're anxious, and you say, "How do you know?" Is it important to know what is the emotion that we are experiencing at the moment that we experience? Like, do we need to know the difference between fear and dread, for example?
I wouldn't go into such a precise resolution, but
Mm-hmm.
we do need to pay attention to the emotions we're experiencing. We do need to be able to tell ourselves, um, I'm sad now, I'm happy now, I'm insulted now, I'm insecure now, I'm not feeling safe currently. We need to be able to do that in order for us to uh, for a very tiny second, just help block the automated response that's usually executed following that emotion. Yeah, that's what we usually do. Yeah, when I'm angry, driving my car, and someone cut me off, my emotion will take me to a certain execution.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell myself I noticed that I am angry, I feel the anger in my belly. I see my head starting to warm up. When I start this narration of the process,
Mm-hmm.
I allow myself to block that automated response. Yeah,
So this is a change in behavior.
yeah, yeah. So when
Mm-hmm.
I block that automated response, and I paid attention to what's happening within my body, then I can decide to take it into have a positive action following that, something that will allow me to release that excess energy from my body
Mm-hmm.
and not to hurt anyone, not to shout at anyone or hit anyone.
Mm-hmm. So I read somewhere, they said it takes 90 seconds for an emotion to travel through the body and then evaporate.
Yeah.
But if it hasn't, if after 90 seconds the emotion is still there, then we need to ask ourselves, how come? What is it serving us? What is going on?
Yeah, yeah.
And
So that's usually for kids who were allowed to access their emotions naturally without having any adults telling them, go to your room or don't cry here, or that usually
mm,
takes 90 seconds. For us adults, it could take years sometimes. And I
right,
think that's
because
in one of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross books. I think that she mentioned 90 seconds. Yeah.
yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, so it's really interesting for me because, of course, with the emotion code, I work with people to release their trapped emotions, and the interesting thing is that sometimes, but not always, people feel their emotions, and then they're like, I'm feeling so emotional right now, and I'm like, yes, because we've just woken up this emotion that you trapped and ignored when you shouldn't have.
Hmm.
I say shouldn't have. I don't really say that, but basically, we're now touching this emotion again, so it makes sense that you are experiencing it again.
Yeah, yeah,
But
and I think the most important thing to remember is that it's not you who is the emotion.
mhm,
It's your guest.
right,
Your emotion is just your guest. It's nothing personal.
yes,
Because
and
we
they
do
identify
tend
with
to
it.
take our emotions very personally. Yeah, it was done to me. I am insulted. No, it's a chemical reaction that flows in your body. It's not personal.
Mm.
And when you start observing that emotion from an external point of view as the observer,
Mhm.
then it completely changes everything. And another important thing to remember is not to discredit or hate our emotions. That's so important, because
Yeah.
usually when the emotion that I'm feeling is connected to a part within me that I consider very weak, I would try to discredit, to disqualify, to kick away, to whatever
Yeah.
that part within me. And we need to learn that we're a combination of all those parts that we consider strong, weak, smart, stupid, beautiful, ugly, whatever.
Mhm.
They're all combined to create the me, the self. Yeah. And eventually, when I practice that observer mode, I need to learn to be in acceptance to all the emotions that are running through me, to all the parts that are inhabited within me. And that acceptance eventually leads to love. Yeah, but love, some people are really afraid of that word. It sounds very big. Oh, I love myself. What do you mean you love yourself? Yeah,
Yeah.
I just recently heard someone who said, I learned to fall in love with myself. And I said, oh my God, this is amazing. But when you tell that to people, they're scared. So acceptance, that's good enough to
Yeah.
accept and not to judge.
And I think for me, in the work that I do, when I speak with people, it really is a lot of the time the emotion that you're noticing actually is bringing something. There's a gift in the emotion.
Definitely.
So if you because what happens, you feel the emotion, maybe you ignore it very soon afterwards, the pain starts. So basically pay attention and see what is it, what is the trigger, and when you allowing yourself to open it up and see what what came into my reality recently that made me feel something, this negative feeling. Now we can look into it, and then it's there's a lot of wisdom in that. But
Yeah.
like you said earlier, a lot of the time we feel the emotion and then we say, right, push it away, ignore it, fight it, don't allow it, and
Yeah.
that's of course creating more
Yeah. And,
damage.
and when you're dealing with chronic pain, as you mentioned, there's a combination there of physical pain, like uh, I don't know if there's such thing, but the real pain I should feel, and then there's the mental pain part
Hmm.
added on top of it, and uh, most of the times the mental pain part has fear
Yeah.
hiding underneath.
Yeah.
I fear the pain so much that I am painful before the pain even started.
Yeah.
And once we learn to make peace or to accept that there is a part within us that's afraid, it's not such a big deal, it's only a chemical flow within our body, we can start observing, then we can at least eliminate the mental part of the pain and stay with the physical or yeah.
Yeah, it's there's just a lot of awareness that is needed when we
Yeah.
go through this, and
Yeah.
and of course that is it's a journey, like
Yeah,
anything else.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Practice, daily practice.
Yeah.
Have a narrator within your head that sometimes just narrates what's happening to you. That's that's the thing, I think.
Yeah.
Except for meditation, except for other exercises that you can do, I think that's one of the most important observation exercises you can do in your real life. Yeah, as a part of your relationships, as a part of your job, as a part of whatever you do. Take some time to look at yourself from the outside.
Yeah. That's a very good advice, actually. And yes, I was, of course, going there. As soon as you said, I was like, okay. Yes, sometimes, yes, it's definitely an interesting exercise.
Yeah.
And then now we're coming towards the end of our conversation, but we haven't had a chance to talk about the podcast with Ram Dust, and
Mhm, mhm.
um, maybe you can mention it in a sentence, because after that, I want to know what is a message that you think, you believe our listeners or viewers should walk away with today.
Yeah. So I think Ramdas, because this is an English speaking podcast that you have, my podcast on Ramdas is in Hebrew. But for people that want to listen to him in his voice, of course, in English, the podcast is called Ramdas Here and Now, and it describes his journey to India from Harvard and Stanford and all the Ivy League universities. He was a professor for psychology,
Mm,
and he started doing LSD massively. And then that led him to go to India eventually and give up all the drugs, everything. And then he came back to the West with amazing, amazing lectures.
mm,
There's a movie called, I think it's called Ramdas Coming Home or Going Home on Netflix.
mhm,
That's really beautiful. That's about Ramdas. And there are many other things we haven't touched that I'm dealing with, but I think we said a lot. So yeah, something that I want the people to take away with them. I think the most important thing is to understand that behind or under all our clothing, we're not that different, and to um, practice seeing other people as close to me as possible. I think one of the things I usually do for that is to focus on their liver, kidneys, heart, any internal organ within them, and then shift the focus to my internal organs and take that as a basic common denominator, yeah,
mhm,
between us, to help me get closer, to help me open my heart to the people around me, not thinking them of being different, being
mhm,
the others. Yeah, I think that really, really helps us. One, not to feel alone, which happens a lot in Western society. I feel alone.
mhm,
And two, that helps me practice opening my heart when I am walking around with my heart open. My reality is more vibrant, my reality is juicy, and there's a good chance I'll be experiencing elevated emotions naturally.
mhm. I like that a lot. It's, yeah, you're right. Of course,
Thank you.
we do tend to go around, protecting ourselves and just thinking, that we are the only people around. But actually, when you have your open heart, magic happens.
Yeah.
Nadav, where can people find you? What share with us? Where
Yeah.
should they go?
Okay. So most of my material is in Hebrew. So I'm sorry about that for the English speakers. I do work with people overseas, usually using Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. My Facebook page is very active. I publish a lot. If you want to count on the Facebook translation, automated translation they have, the things I publish are usually around Buddhism and mindfulness. So check that out. I have two podcasts I'm running in Hebrew here in Israel. One is called Evolve or Die. And it's all around self-development and evolvement. And the other, as we mentioned, is Ramdas. I also have therapy cards for relationships
Mhm.
that I sometimes am invited into one of the schools here for counseling, and I give a lecture and they experience working with the cards, which is amazing. And I have many more small things that I will not mention. I think it's enough for
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
We're gonna have all of your information and social links and everything in the show notes. So wherever people are hearing or watching or whatever, they
Mhm.
can get in touch.
Mhm.
Nadav, this has been a wonderful pleasure. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for your wisdom and for everything that you shared. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I had lots of fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Same here. And I'll just say one more words for anyone watching and listening. If this resonated, wonderful. Thank you. Please like and share. Really do share this with people that you feel might enjoy, because we are here to spread the world, not the world, the world, and bring some more positivity into our lives. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.